In this video, we're going to finish styling our pattern for our design, and I'm going to show you the difference that my 30% fold made on my folds on the pattern, and we're going to refold my pattern because I don't really like the way it was fitting. So once I fit my mannequin and I tried it on, it seems to me that it would be very tight on the body. So the fabric is telling me that I have too much fold. And I'm going to show you how I true my pattern to make it perfect so that when I cut it out and I make a copy for the other side, we want to make a single pattern to be able to lay the fabric down on the flat and not cut it on the fold. The first thing I want to show you on my front pattern, my original fold was 1.5 inches. I'm going to reduce it by 1/2. This line becomes my home line, and I'm going to fold it out on the front and the back like I folded in the 1.5 inches. I'm going to fold now for the 3/4 all the way down to the crotch. Even though I'm refolding my pattern, I'm taking out my 1.5 inch fold and I'm going to refold it to 3/4. No matter what fold amount you're folding for, the process is the same. For my lengthwise fold, I'm going to divide that in half, and my 1/2 inch is now going to be 1/4. I have divided my lengthwise fold to be 1/4. 1/4 inch doesn't seem like a lot, but in the name of refining and having an accurate and comfortable fit of our swimsuit, especially when it comes to one piece, bikinis and sweetheart tops and other two-piece swimsuits, that's a little different. You can get away with a whole lot. Most of the time you don't even need a lengthwise fold. But when it comes to one piece, because of our connection points, we have the shoulder seam, we have our connection seam on the sides, we have our Razorback, our hardware, anything with hardware. We don't want to rely entirely on the hardware to support our fabric and give us a comfortable fit. This is why I'm doing my small folds for lengthwise as I am. And also to teach you how to do it and how important it is for you to have our crosswise and our lengthwise folds in our patterns. I'm going to show you how I true in my pattern. I walk my pattern together at the shoulder seam, right on the stitching lines, anchor it down, and I take my hip curve to my original cutting line up to the end of my shoulder seam, right at the outside of the cutting line, drawing my line here. On the hardware connection, we have our 3/8 elastic. We also have the fold line that this line is. We're going to fold this to fold it into the hardware connection. And then we're going to insert the hardware, and we're going to have to cut off the elastic right here, because this is going to be our stitching line. We're going to stitch this down in the construction, and we want to accommodate that insertion amount here. We find our connection point here, which is where we're going to insert our elastic, and we want to round that right up to our front shoulder line, cutting line, and we draw that in, and we use our ruler to get this line as straight and well connected as we can. And then we will blend as close as we can, or on top of that line as we can get. We're going to cut that line at our insertion point on our hardware to the center back. We have a very nice center back neck edge to our shoulder seam and our front neck edge. We want to remember that all of our connection points are all 1.25 inches. So we will measure at the shoulder seam stitching line. We want to measure the 3/8 elastic plus the 1.25 inch connection amount plus another 3/8. It's a little short. We're going to add some paper, and we're going to measure out our 3/8. We're going to true our pattern from the front armscye right to our original cutting line. Trace that up to our shoulder seam right here at the stitching line and draw that in to the back armscye, the original cutting line, up to our shoulder seam. Draw our line in, and now we want to round this. We cut on that line that we can go into the bottom part of our connection point right here, and we can find our center back, the original center back, and our 1.5 inch mark that we originally measured in. We can redraw our keyhole back from our hardware connection point. Draw in keyhole to our original center back. Draw up, smooth it out, and round it right to the top. Elastic does not like corners. You want to try to keep all of your corners where you're going to put your elastic rounded so that the elastic will flow in and will stay on the round, because we're going to turn the fabric over around the elastic and we don't want it to buckle. We can cut our back up to our hardware connection point. We go to the back hip section and we go down to our crotch here, and we measure out the 1.25 inches plus the 3/8, style over to our 0.5. We move up to the hip, style in our butt crease, keeping our 0.5 intact, because we're going to fold this line when we add our 3/8 elastic all the way through this, we're going to have this is going to be technically our fold line. And then we're going to go over here, and this is going to be our stitching line. We measure our hip to verify that it's 1.25 inches. We measure the 3/8 plus the 1.25 inches plus the 3/8. Ah, look at that. Ever so slightly, just a little bit of a change. We redraw. Okay, and we cut that over to our crotch crease. And we have the front. We walk our two hips together, and we will mark off where they are off a little bit. And we're going to take our hip curve on our original hip point up here, down inside 0.3. We walk our center back and our center front, our 1.25 inches here, and our elastic 3/8 right here. And we draw our line up to 0.3 from our elastic. Shape that line and cut that. On the bust, right here, we're going to stretch in our connection point here and leave this so that the fabric will make a cup. So we're not going to change the bust amount. We're just going to stretch it in. We're going to trim our bust line. We're going to take our ruler, following along our line. We're going to draw our trim line, and we're going to cut that. And we're going to semi-fold anyway. We're going to scrunch in our bust line here, and we're going to construct it so that our side seams, our back and our front are scrunched in, and the fabric is going to make a cup. We'll fold the bust out to the top line and walk our back together and mark off right there, and we will put our ruler here and draw in our new line, and we will cut that, and we will do the same for the back. Follow it down, put our ruler down, draw that in, and cut them. And there you have your two swimsuit pieces for your one piece. And that concludes the styling of our swimsuit pattern. In the next video, we're going to put these pattern pieces into one piece of paper, and we're going to cut it out in the fabric, and we're going to assemble our swimsuit. I'm going to show you how I cut it out and sew it up. We're going to put the elastic in, and we're going to finish our swimsuit design. I'll see you in the next video.